And so this book is about marriages, but also I guess just people who are in a relationship or maybe who are thinking about being in a relationship, all the above.
Absolutely right.
And before we started recording, we were talking about how around half of the marriages in this country do not last. And it's very rare that you meet a couple and they say they've been married for over 30 years. How do you think those couples survive that long?
Well, I think, in my grandparents' days and stuff like that, the man went to work and the woman, some women, they didn't have any other source of income. So a lot of them it was enforced upon them to really stay, regardless of the circumstances. Back in the day, the men, they did all kind of stuff. You know what I mean? There's nothing new under the sun. And the women really didn't have an outlet. Now today, these women, they're making more money than the men. You know what I'm saying? They're self-suffice. And in a way, that self-suffice can be dangerous in a way. And I have that in my book too. It can be kind of dangerous because when you feel like you don't really need a man, then why even get in a relationship? Why even get married? You know what I'm saying? It kills the significance of marriage. But like I said, back in the day, I think it was harder for women to detach themselves because the man was the sole provider.
Okay, so I just flipped open to page 19, and the title is The Deep-Seated Wounds of Family Dysfunction. What is this chapter about?
Like we talked about before, underlying conditions. Some people go into relationships and they're wounded. So they go in bleeding on the other person. You know what I mean? And they make them responsible for what they previously experienced. And I don't think that's fair.
Right. And so your advice would be for someone to heal whatever hurt they're dealing with before going into a relationship with someone else.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, on page 79, the imperfection of mentality. Your attitude is defined as your settled way of thinking or feeling about something or someone. Your mindset, on the other hand, is defined as the established set of attitudes that you hold. So why did you feel like it was important to make that distinction between attitude and mindset?
Everything begins in your mind. If you don't have a transformation of your mind, it's like taking somebody who's making $500 versus, and then later you're making $1 million, the same person. If your mindset don't never change, the same way that $500 went, it's the same way that $1 million is going to go. So I take that as a life perspective of learning how to manage life, but it has to begin in the mind. And that's basically what that meant.
Yeah. There's so much power in the mind too. Okay, so can you just tell us where you're from?
Okay. Well, I'm originally from actually New Brunswick, New Jersey.
Are you really?
Yeah, that's my birthplace.
Wow. How long did you live here?
Like most of my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
What elementary school did you go to?
I went to Paul Robeson. No, it was Nathan Hale at the time. Nathan Hale.
Wow.
And then I went to Paul Robeson in the 7th and 8th grade. If you go to the auditorium, I don't know if it's still there, but I drew a big picture of the old Nathan Hale in the auditorium.
Wow.
Yeah, so.
And then you went to New Brunswick High School?
I actually went to East Brunswick High School.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And did you go to college?
Yes. Yeah, I went to Strayer University.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. New Jersey author. So everyone who is here in New Jersey, please support this author and also this book. So is this book exclusively for women or should men read this book as well?
It's for both, but like I said, it's like 80-20. I would say 80-20 because it's trying to get the woman to understand their man and how we really feel. We do think different. It's just that, they have a different side of them. They have different channels working that don't be working in us. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What do you think is the main thing that women should understand about men?
I think that they should, and that's a good question, they should I think that they should really come into grips that men are not. We're not still. We're not robots. We do have hearts too.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We were always told that a man is not supposed to cry. We got songs out like that, and I think that even as African American men, society has put much pressure on us as the male until we have so much to actually. It's like stipulations. We have so much that we have to. Should I say criteria? Things that we have to meet up to. Like it's like we always playing catch up to make ourselves relevant when we are already relevant. And I think that goes back to, again, the mindset. I don't think any man should feel like he's not relevant. I think society has a role to play in how a lot of men think and how they go about doing things, even with their women. And that's way back from even slavery days. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think it affected society in a great way. And I just hope this book will help them to just kind of alleviate themselves from that aspect.
Right. And on page 90, you talk about real men do cry, and it kind of talks about the vulnerability that men do have, and that should be acknowledged, and that their partners should or should not shun when when their man, their husband, or their boyfriend, or their partner shows vulnerability.
Right.
Is important. He then learns to deal with the disappointments of life through internal processing. Naturally, with time, the numerous and auspicious incidents of his life accumulate until he's so overwhelmed with inner toxicity without any outlet through which to release or vent out his frustrations and uncertainties. We even teach that to our son. When he cries and gets upset, it's okay to get upset. It's okay to cry. But a lot of times you see even parents say, "Don't cry." What type of person will they grow up to be?
Right.
So I like that you said that. I want to talk about, again, I want to show the cover of the book, Mentality, What Women Need to Know About Their Men. Now, this cover is changing.
Yes.
There's going to be edits to this book. Can you just talk about the cover, how it's changing, why it's changing, and other changes that you plan to make?
It looks like it's just straight up solely about men and what we demand, but so I wanted to kind of change it so it could look like a little universal. You know what I'm saying? So, and the other book it has it's a rose on the bottom, and it's a shadow of me in the back, and it just looks more romantic.
Okay.
Not hardcore.
And so, where can the book be sold, or where can people buy the book online?
They can find it on the etongroup.com, and also they will be available soon on janthonybrand.com.
Okay. And once it's on other platforms also, you can also go to bookshop.org/shop/Hidden Gems Literary Emporium. We have readers from across the country who they can't make it into our events or to the bookstore, but they support us on Bookshop by buying books that we promote or books that they hear about. So you can get it a couple different places. Where can we find you on social media so that we can stay connected with you?
Well, I'm on IG. It's J_Ant_Sims. I'm also on Facebook. It's under Anthony Simmons.
Okay.
That's it for now.
Okay. That's more than enough. So last question. What are you reading right now? Are you reading right now?
Am I reading? To be honest with you, I had to take a breather for all this writing.
Yeah, and you also, before we started recording, you told us that you wrote this in 3 days.
Yeah.
3 days of no sleep.
Yes, no sleep.
So this is clearly a passion project, something that was deeply rooted in your heart and your mind that you felt committed to putting out there, and now marketing it for the world to read and enjoy.
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, one question about reading. Why is reading important?
I think it stimulates the mind, and I think reading is very important because they talk about that there's something called, is it called Alzheimer's or something like that. I think if the brain is not exercised, I don't know if the brain locks or what, but it needs to be fed just like our souls need to be fed, whether it's for your intellectual purposes or whatever. But I know reading stimulates the mind. It also promotes growth. Knowledge is power. You know what I'm saying? And that power needs to be applied to society, especially in today's society. We're in a society where it's hidden and quitted, brown and served, microwave. Everybody's in a rush. So now they have audios and stuff like that too. So I think the population of readers have kind of narrowed down. People used to read books, but now it's like it's the audio now. People are jogging, they need the audio, and that's a good way of learning too. But there's nothing like reading. It does something different for you than just listening to an audio. Yeah, it stimulates the mind.
I agree, and I think it also goes with muscle memory. You're flipping through the pages, you're reading the book, you're pointing, you're having conversations. If you're reading with someone, even someone that you're married to or in a relationship with, Ray and I read books all the time. It stimulates conversation, communication. And what you said is true. The mind affects the body.
Right.
So if you develop a practice of reading from as young as when you're my children's age, you might live to be 200 years old. So that's our test. That's what Ray and I are testing. We want to see if we can make it to 200 because we read every day.
Hey.
You never know, right?
Go for it.